Good morning, students. Welcome to Sai CA Coaching Center, and this is CA MS Swaminathan with you. Students, in furtherance to what we have learned till now, let us move on with the next part of the syllabus in today's session. Move on after these to the tools and techniques of cost reduction, for example, value analysis, which we will discuss later, inventory management just in time, which we've already discussed earlier in a chapter, business process reengineering, we have covered, target costing, we have to do, Kaizen costing, we've already done. Now, the next most significant component of this particular chapter deals with target costing, which has several components to it. So we will be looking at it stage by stage. Now, what exactly is this target costing? Let me just try to give you an example before we start this. Target, of course, is something which relates to kind of a destination, an aim that you have to reach a particular place. Okay. For example, you intend to manufacture something at a particular cost. Now, why would you want to manufacture something at a particular cost? Now, let us just get into the study material to read a few lines because it will add a little more clarity to you. I am on page 6 of Jan 2019 edition of the study material. It starts by saying, target costing has been described as a process that occurs in a competitive environment in which cost minimization is an important component of profitability. Now, here itself, the entire gist of target costing has been communicated just through one sentence. Now, what is the gist? The environment is not something which is very stable. It's not something which is static. It's dynamic, changing constantly, and therefore extremely competitive. Probably your competitors are fiercely offering products at a lesser price, probably. Okay, so you don't have, it's not a seller's market as such, it's more of a buyer's market. Or probably product differentiation is being adopted in a very big way. Two, therefore, since the environment tends to be so competitive, for you to be able to survive in that market, it is a given fact that unless you deliver what the competitor delivers at the bare minimum, the customer is never going to look at you and knock at a door to buy your product. So the customer, when they get something which is of an equal quality or a better quality outside, okay, why would they come to you? Equal quality at a lesser price. So either you should be able to offer at the competitor's price something which is more valuable, or you should be offering the same quality which the competitor provides the customer at a lower price. Therefore, this clearly impacts the profitability element. So let's read the sentence again. Target costing has been described as a process that occurs in a competitive environment in which cost minimization is an important component of profitability. In other words, if you want to survive in a competitive environment, you have to remain profitable, otherwise you can't sustain. And if you have to remain profitable, there are only two ways of going about it. Why? Profit, we have learned right in our 5th, 6th standard probably, is equal to nothing but selling price minus cost price. So either you have to tweak your selling price or your cost price. You have no other alternative available. Of course, ignoring the qualitative aspects. Now, therefore, here, what we are trying to see in target costing is, rather than touching the sales angle significantly, we are concentrating more on the cost side. And if you want to be able to sustain your profit when competitors are reducing their selling price, or probably want to increase the market share, you have to look at trying to minimize your cost. And that minimization must occur on a permanent basis. It shouldn't be something which is lasting temporarily. Please also bear in mind that given the inflationary trend prevailing in the environment in general, the cost of inputs, etc., might be increasing, on account of which probably the selling price also might have to increase. But in an extremely competitive environment, it might not be a joke to increase the price very frequently, because that would irritate or frustrate the customers. So you might have to give that a thought and get into a situation where the selling price is kept fairly stable, but the cost only will have to be tweaked to be able to sustain your profitability. That gives these customers a lot of comfort. because they are kind of insulated. They are not exposed to a situation where the price shifts. Something like your dynamic pricing. Today you book a flight to Delhi. After 3 months you want to travel. Probably the ticket is available for 2000 rupees. But if you try to book it 2 days in advance of your travel, it might even be soaring up to 8,000 or 9,000. The customer would probably be in for a shock. So if they can be insulated against it, they feel very happy. In other words, if someone has to be insulated, which is the customer, someone else has to be exposed to a risk. The risk in terms of exposure is carried by us or the entity from a cost minimization perspective. Just to give you a little bit of extra knowledge about this. Now, and if you have to minimize your cost, as I said to you, you can't tweak your sales price or your selling price frequently, which means constantly you must be vigilant in paying attention to your total cost to be able to find out newer ways of doing things. Probably it could be something like improving upon the existing setup itself, or probably radically changing things and getting a better way, innovating better ways and replacing the earlier mechanisms with more sophisticated technology, automation to minimize the cost. That's all that is involved basically in target costing. Now, before we move on with target costing further, let's just read the next one para, and afterwards I think we will not do much of reading. We'll just discuss about the concepts. It can be defined as a structured approach to determining the cost at which a proposed product with specified functionality. Now, functionality. What is the meaning of functionality? What are the different features that the particular product can provide you? For example, a watch which will actually be able to sound an alarm, a watch probably which can show you 2 different time zones, a watch probably has even which has even the second hand to it, possibly. So something, or maybe it is a digital watch. So specified functionality. You could talk about a cell, a mobile which has a calculator, an alarm, a calendar, etc., etc. So a structured approach to determining the cost at which a proposed product with specified functionality and quality must be produced to generate a desired level of profitability at its anticipated selling price. Again, I read this sentence only to drive home a fact. This is critical for you to understand. Now let's look at it. A structured approach to determining the cost at which a proposed product, what is a proposed product? You intend to launch a new product in the market typically. Now, when you want to launch a new product in the market, could you just launch without doing any research, any analysis? Would you ever have dared to take up the chartered accountancy course without ever having thought about the fact what would be the return post qualification? If someone were to tell chartered accountants 3 years later who qualify will be paid in the bracket of 5,000 to 8,000 rupees per month, would you dare to get into this course? So structured approach to determining the cost at which a proposed product, you are intending to manufacture a product and deliver in the market, proposed product with certain features, specified functionality and quality. Now be very clear, when we talk about the specified functionality and quality, you have to deliver at least what the competitor provides, failing which no customer is going to knock at your door. If you're going to charge a price similar to your competitor, you have to provide bare minimum the same functionality and quality, or probably something more must be produced to continue to generate a desired level of profitability. For whom? For us. Desired level. Why? We are expecting to make the profit. It is not historic, it is futuristic. We are expecting to make a level of profit. Now, when we try to expect, imagine we are trying to expect a profit. When you say you're trying to expect a profit, obviously your selling price typically will be an expected one. Now, selling price is expected. Why? You need to launch a product in the market or the conditions are changing. Therefore, you need to revise the existing selling price. When you revise, or you have to launch a new product and quote a new price. Let's take a new product. What price will you quote in the market unless you've conducted an analysis, a viewpoint you've gathered from the customers? What is it that they are willing to pay for a product which will provide them with this functionality and this quality? So the customers, for example, quote that for a product that you intend to deliver, we are willing to pay you 100 rupees. Now you know for sure the maximum you can charge is 100, nothing beyond. If you charge anything beyond, no one will come to you. Now with 100 in your kitty, if your expense is going to overshoot 100, what is the use of getting into this product itself? So you now need to find out how much of profit I should actually be able to generate. And this will be linked to the concept of your overall strategy. You all have done your financial management and CA intermediate syllabus where you have understood a concept relating to cost of capital. Every organization has a cost of capital. When you invest money somewhere, there is an opportunity cost. You are paying something to the provider of funds. At least that cost you will expect to generate out of that particular investment activity, right? So you might probably have to draw upon that particular rate and apply it over here to fund. Suppose your cost of capital is going to be 15%. At least you would want 15 rupees profit to be generated when you invest 100 rupees somewhere. Now, for example, if I say I can earn 100 and I have to earn at least 15 rupees as a profit, then, please bear in mind, cost of capital is on the amount of money invested. Here I am making an assumption that the 15% is applicable on the selling price. Okay, please be aware that profit percentage on CP will be different compared to SP. So if I have to generate a 15 rupee profit, I know that my cost has to be compulsorily brought down to 85. Therefore, now I know that the target selling price for this product in the market is 100. The target profitability of mine that I desire to earn is 15 rupees, and therefore the target cost for producing this product has to be capped at 85 rupees. Anything less than 85 is okay. Now, I can't go above 85. But in reality, what would happen is something different. To start with, you have framed and identified your target cost. This is basically what is target costing. So it works in a reverse direction. It is virtually the opposite of a situation where you say, my cost of manufacturing is 60 rupees and I will add a margin of 20% to my cost as my profit margin. So 12 rupees I add, 72 will be my selling price. Something very similar to your contract costing where we do cost plus contracts, where you incur a cost plus a margin which is being added, which has been agreed at the start. Target costing operates in exactly the reverse way. You don't incur your cost and add a profit margin. You you conduct a market survey and obtain the expected selling price from which you have to subtract your expected profit margin. The result is all that you have in your hands. Your total cost must be restricted to this amount. Otherwise, you will start bleeding. Okay, is the point very clear to you all? Now, when we look at this aspect of target costing, we will appreciate that costs will certainly have to be brought down to the minimum possible extent. And this is where we have to go back and start thinking about again what will be all those non-value adding activities. Can we remove them? Wastages can be minimized, etc., etc. Therefore, the advantages of target costing, which is also listed in a study material, are fairly self-explanatory. But I would just like to touch on the third point involved over there, which deals with target costing. Starts with customer study or market study. It helps to create a company's competitive future with market-driven management for designing and manufacturing products that meet the price required for market success. The key word is market-driven. Now, why did I pick up this point? Only to highlight this word, market-driven. Why is it so? In target costing, we've understood the process starts with being able to obtain from the market, from the customers, the expected selling price. Where do you get this expected selling price from? From the market. So obviously it is a market driven concept only. Therefore this point highlights it will be market driven. Please be clear on that. And then I guess the benefits that will be coming to you, though might be small initially, but definitely would be long lasting. Now, there are certain characteristics involved in target costing system, the features of target costing system, which are also listed. Let's just pick up a few of them and analyze them as well. Target costing is viewed as an integral part of the design and introduction of new products. What have we seen a few minutes ago in our discussion? We saw it is critical the target costing is introduced right at the design stage. Correct? So you basically, just as we say, make hay while the sun shines. The right moment is the design stage, the earliest stage, because that stage, if you can introduce cost reduction, that will certainly have a ripple effect on all the future stages. This is not to indicate that in the future stages you can completely ignore the possibility of trying to implement target costing. Please explore those possibilities as well. But don't do it at the cost of ignoring the design stage is all the time trying to indicate to you. Then you have the second point for any given product. A target selling price is determined using various sales forecasting techniques. Obviously, you will use statistical information, market driven information, market intelligence, and you will try to get this information as much as possible, as reliable as possible as to what would be the target selling price. Probably you could touch base with customers to get to know what is their viewpoint as well. So to find out whether you may be able to charge a premium from the customer for the extra value that you provide to the customer compared to the competitors. Now, the third point deals with integral to setting the target selling price is the establishment of target production volumes given the relationship between price and volume. Now look at it this way. Target costing essentially is being looked at from what perspective? You have obtained the anticipated selling price. You have subtracted your expected profit which you desire to generate. Therefore, the balance, the remainder must be the total cost that you must incur, correct? Which is your target cost, or typically, in other words, anticipated selling price minus anticipated profit margin. The result, which is your anticipated target cost, is also called as the allowable cost. Your total cost cannot overshoot that amount. Now, here we find integral to setting the target selling price is the establishment of target production volumes given the relationship between price and volume. What is the significance of the statement? Have we not learned in the basics of costing in intermediate that costs are of different types? For example, one of the classifications is fixed and variable. Variable varies in direct proportion to the volume, whereas fixed will probably remain fixed within a particular range of output. Therefore, it is not directly variable. Now, you are looking at target costing from the perspective of minimizing the cost. Therefore, volumes assume a lot of significance. Your selling price of 100 cannot be there if you just sell one product. Correct? Because for generating one product or 1,000 product, you have to incur a basic set of infrastructure related fixed cost. So it has to make economic sense to you, which implies that the production volumes will have to be figured out at which point will it be reasonable for you to operate at that particular level of activity. That is what is meant here in this point. Now, I would just like to probably move a little away here and explain one other point, that when I spoke to you about this allowable cost and the target cost, typically the allowable cost, which is what? Anticipated selling price minus the anticipated profit margin, must be the same as your target cost. 100 rupee selling price anticipated minus 15 rupee anticipated profit margin equals 85 is typically called as my allowable cost as well as my target cost. But in reality, what we find is when you look at this 15 rupee margin, okay, what might happen is establishments might actually try to work out a situation where they will say, in reality, because these are all anticipated numbers, therefore, probably we might even be overshooting. Now, for example, let's assume that my current cost, if it is going to be the fact that I try to imagine I am producing this particular product currently. I have a basic set of infrastructure now in my manufacturing factory. Looking at the current infrastructure I have, how much will it cost me to manufacture this product? Let's hypothetically assume that it will cost me 89 rupees. Therefore, at the moment, my target cost, which looks like, or my allowable cost, which looks like 80, which is at 85, and my actual cost, current cost, is at 89, implying my current cost is higher by 4 rupees, meaning I have to find out ways to bring down my cost by 4 rupees from the actual number which is 89 to the allowable number which is 85, correct? Which is what is all about this cost reduction and target costing. Now, it's very easy to say numerically, just bring this 89 to 85. In reality, is it going to be a joke? Let's just probably look at one other angle involved here. It's not going to be very easy to bring this down by 4 rupees. Why do I say so? All factors that you might analyze will not essentially be under your control. Correct? There could be something which could be certain inherent limitations like what you have in an auditing as well. However much you try, can you bring the audit risk down to zero? Because there are some inherent limitations. Similarly, what we find here is there could be some inherent limitations in your setup itself, which you can't do anything about in the short term. Probably in the long run, you may be able to do something about it. But there are certain factors which you can amend in the short run by doing a cost benefit analysis wherein you feel the benefit will be more. Now, whatever I have explained might not probably sound very clear to you. Let me just give you an example which is nothing to do with your costing, but something away from here. Hopefully, the point that I want to drive into your mind will become clear. Now, let's assume that you're supposed to take the November 2020 examination, okay? CA final examination. And you have set a target for yourself that by 3 months prior to the examination, which is let's say July end, okay, you would have finished preparing with all the 8 papers. This is your target. Now, in reality, how many of us are actually able to reach the target by July 31? We have finished all the 8 papers, and if the final paper were to be given to us hypothetically on August 1 or 2, will we be in a position to secure or score the same mark that we will normally try and aim for in the month of November? The answer is very clearly there on the wall, correct? Now what happens is, even though you have 3-4 months ahead of now, the month of April, May, June, July, 4 months on hand, you know one thing for sure, that if you have to finish everything in 4 months time, how many hours of effort you have to put in every day. But then, for example, if a particular student were to fall sick, is that something within your control? Even suppose the person falls sick, would the parent tell the child, no, you're running a temperature of 102, still you have to clock 12 hours a day because you have your examination in the month of November and you have given us a schedule that you will be ready by July 31. Even if the student picks up the book, the parent probably hammers the child and says, this is utter nonsense. First, health is wealth. Take care of your health. Now what happens? We are able to understand one thing, that we feel probably, apart from the fact that I might fall ill, etc., maybe my office demands me to come extra on Saturdays or Sundays, etc., from a work perspective. So it's highly unlikely that I will complete by 31st of July. I might overshoot. My allowable cost was 31st of July, correct? My target should have been 31st of July. But because of some practical limitations, what did I tell you? My current infrastructure might permit me to do certain things, certain changes. But my current infrastructure has some inherent limitations which doesn't permit me to do certain things. Therefore, my current office position might be such that I can't concentrate on my work for the next 7 days at all because of some finalization work. Therefore, I decide beyond the 7th day, every day I will try to squeeze in an extra half an hour somehow or the other. But that does not significantly compensate the loss of time which I've had in the first 7 days. Correct? So I might probably tell or arrive at a calculation which states that instead of the 31st of July, I think I should probably be able to close all the 8 papers by the 7th of August or the 8th of August, maybe the 10th of August, whatever be the date. This is what happens even in target costing. Though hypothetically, theoretically, you have an allowable cost, in reality, it might not be feasible to attain that level. You might overshoot it, which could be called probably as the real product related target cost. Okay. Which is tough to achieve, but still you can. By squeezing in that extra half an hour, you are still able to come down to 7th of, for example, August. If you don't squeeze that extra half an hour over the next 4 months, your date will shift, for example, to the 20th of August, which you don't want to occur. Why? Those 13 days you say, between the 7th and the 20th, you say, I just can't do anything. Even if I clock for 2 hours extra, it's going to affect my sleep, my health will get affected, everything will go topsy-turvy. So I wouldn't take that risk. I just wanted you to be clear on that, as this concept is used elsewhere in today's topic for discussion. Then you have establishing the cost reduction targets. I guess this is something that I have actually discussed. In fact, the 7th of August related example that I gave you is in the study material related to a concept, to a phrase called product level target cost. Okay, just bear that in mind when you read. You can apply this example there.